LA Valiant have completely reset their roster this season to a disastrous outcome. Their 2020 roster looks scary, and not in a good way. Let's start with the positives. Packing 10 seems to be a competent coach, and they have two fantastic hit-scan players. Well, the list of positive went by in a flash, now let's talk the negatives.
Hi!
Valiant began last year with a starting six consisting of Fate and Space on tanks, Agilities and Kariv on DPS, and Kuki and Izayaki on support. That roster cost them the overall playoffs, going 0-7 in the first stage. Kariv wasn't great on DPS, Kuki had no idea how to play Lucio, Fate was feeding and Izayaki looked overhyped. Coach Moon was removed from the team, Fate and Izayaki were shipped off to other teams, Kariv was put back on support and Custer returned to the starting six. By the end of the season, the starting roster looked much improved with Fact Fiction, Space, KSF, Shax, Kariv and Custer. But since they bombed Stage 1, they didn't make the playoffs. The off-season began and they removed everyone except KSF, Shax and Custer, hoping to moneyball some contenders' talent. Well, they messed up. Their roster, as of writing this, is Gig and Dreamer on main tank, McGravy on off tank, Apply, KSF, KSP and Shax on DPS, Slur and Lastro on flex support, and Rain on main support. First of all, the main tanks. Both of these guys are from contenders. Gig was on XL2 when they lost in the finals on NA contenders, and lost to Atlanta Academy in the second losers round in the gauntlet. Dreamer was in Australian contenders, so that tells us nothing about him, except that he's used to bad ping. In my opinion, they should have kept Factor Fiction, so they at least had someone reliable to fall back on if these contenders' gambles didn't pay off. He was finally finding his feet in Owl, and looked really comfortable on Valiant. Their only off-tank is McGravy, who doesn't look too bad when he rarely gets to play, but not even close to being a star player. They pulled the same trick with their flex supports as well. One Korean, one Western, both contenders. Lastro is the Korean from Sky Foxes, whose best result in contenders is losing in the semis, and Slur, who most recently lost in EU contenders quarterfinals. It's quite a downgrade from best Ana in the world, Kariv. And as for their main support, Rain from Florida Mayhem. It's like they didn't know Custer was going to retire and ran out of money. Rain is probably volunteering. He's very, very, very lucky to be an Owl again. I don't think Valiant could have signed a worse main support if they tried. Florida Mayhem chose Chris over Rain. That's how bad he is. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating. But there are many better options out there than Rain. Coma, for example, from Shanghai Dragons. Maybe Crusade from Team Netherlands? I don't know. Moving on. Their DPS looks decent, with KSF being solid last year, and Shax looking pretty sharp on the hit scan, particularly on Sombra. And KSP is a fantastic Widowmaker, but their projectile DPS doesn't look great. KSF is more of a flex DPS than a true projectile, so that leaves Apply, who shouldn't really be considered anything more than a sub. If this team hits a Doom meta, they are in real trouble, as Apply is probably their best Doomfist player. But now, the worst problem of all. This roster is immutable. They have 10 players, so they only have 2 slots free. They already have 2 main tanks, 2 flex supports, and 4 DPS, so they can only really sign another off-tank or another main support. If the other roles suck, they are stuck with them for the whole first quarter, as they can't trade with other teams until after then. And as we saw last year, losing a whole first quarter puts your playoff chances very, very low. How history repeats itself.